All right, welcome to the Flag Stays Down podcast. First off, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. As always, you've got me here, Andy. You can follow me on Twitter at Comiskey North. Joined by the legend himself, Parker, at DJ Parkour, and his brother from another mother, Matt, at Matus Lee. Parker, we'll start with you. How you doing tonight?
I don't know what I did to deserve legendary status, but shit, I'll take it. Yeah, not too bad, man. It's another week in the books, another week closer to the end of the season, which I feel like we're cheering for more and more, which kind of sucks as a fan, but hey, that's kind of where we're at. And yeah, no, all in all, a pretty good week, despite a relatively disappointing result. But hey, we got some stuff figured out, man. It's the Boehly era, so we move on forward. How about you, Matt? How you doing?
I'm just here for the bourbon. That's kind of sums up the week. Yeah, I appreciate you boys for providing the updates while I was on the road, heading up to Parker's kind of stomping grounds up in Appleton. So yeah, I watched the game when I got back today, and oof, a lot of questions. But Parker, as you said, we got the only answer that matters. Boehly in, and let's go.
It's Kevin Costner season out there.
Oh, you talk about somebody that looks like a stallion. Oh, that is a man right there.
Man's got drip. That's all I gotta say. and then to further emphasize the point, it wasn't the Ricketts. We haven't talked about that in a couple of weeks, but Ricketts are not out there, which is even better. We can fly the L. No to Ricketts. Thank you, Collins, for that. But it did dawn on me when I was watching, like, man, I would just like fucking hate myself if I saw the Ricketts family instead of Boehly today. It would not have been good.
It's one of the topics today that I'm most excited to talk about because I feel like the camera was on him for 30 of the 90 minutes. And so it was just, we got every Boehly reaction, including his first VAR reaction, which was the same as all of ours, I'm sure. But again, we'll get to that later. So as always, we're going to start here with the in memoriam. So this is episode number 36. And again, we're getting into the weeds here with these numbers. But the one I could find, I'm not even going to make it a choice. From 2014 to 2017, Ruben Loftus-Cheek wore the number 36, and I know he's both of your guys. So we'll just go ahead and proceed with him. So do you guys have a favorite 2014 to 2017 RLC memory?
There aren't many of them, Collins. My favorite memory was purchasing his jersey with the Premier League champions patch on it. That's my favorite Ruben Loftus-Cheek memory.
That's what I'm looking for right there. I was hoping you'd say that.
And then proceeding to wear that to my first ever Chelsea match that I saw in person, which was at US Bank Stadium, Minnesota, and it was the first ever event held at US Bank Stadium. So it was run incredibly poorly by the staff at Minnesota, who were briefed about 20 minutes prior to the match, as I found out. We didn't know how to get to our seats because no one knew how to direct us to our seats. But I was proudly wearing the Loftus-Cheek jersey, and it was a good day. They won.
Matt, you got one.
We don't have any love for Patrick Bamford. We got no love for Patty Bams.
Do we?
Collins, you've always been a fan of Patrick Bamford.
I have, but not. I knew from the beginning he would not succeed at Chelsea, so I'm glad he's succeeding at Leeds, but he was never. It's like a white wide receiver in my mind. It's not going to work. Shout out to the Packers.
Nice.
Well done. No offense to Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Cooper Kupp, Jordy Nelson. It's okay. We don't consider you in that realm.
Yeah, unless you play for the Badgers, Wisconsin Badgers.
Of course.
All right. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about Big Romelu Lukaku, finally turning up. We're going to ask, what was that midfield? And we're gonna, as for those of you who are watching on Twitch, we were already bitching about it already, but we're gonna talk about it some more, and that's the officiating in this match. And finally, like I said earlier, my favorite topic of the day, and that's gonna be Boehly watch. So let's start out with Rom, because we have been tearing him a new one since what
The interview.
and that was what, beginning of December.
Yep.
So it's been about 6 months, which is the majority of the time that he's been with Chelsea. He finally turned up. We got a penalty out of him, a penalty that he drew, and then we had a second goal in quick succession, I believe about 2 minutes later. Looked a little bit more industrious this weekend. But, we've seen this with Timo. We've seen it with Pulisic. We've seen it with Kai, where it's flashes. Are we seeing flashes of Rom, or are we seeing what we paid for?
We are seeing Rom essentially play in a contract year like most people do in US sports. If you're going into the final year of your contract and you want to get paid or you want to keep your worth, this game, that's what it seemed like to me. You have new ownership, right? In the stands, definitely there. You finally get a start and you have an opportunity to capitalize. Granted, his penalty, I really didn't think was that great of a penalty. Like, he made the keeper go the wrong way, but that's about it. If he went the right way, there was no way in hell that ball was going in. His second finish, though, that was what we have expected of him the whole time. Weak foot finish, love it. It was clinical, it was precise, it was tactical. Like that's what we want out of him. He looked like he was chasing the ball down a lot more than we've seen him. He looked like he was a little bit more involved in the attack, using his body, actually being able to link up, which is something we haven't seen out of him much at all. His partnership with Christian was actually pretty damn good. I was surprised to see the kind of connection that they had. So, I mean, all things considered, overall, I thought it was a really good performance from Rom. But I do think that that's more of like he's trying to play to make sure that he gets a good contract wherever he goes next year.
Collins, I'm curious what you got to say about this. What do you think here?
I want to build a little bit off of what Matt said, because I don't know if he's looking for a big contract next year somewhere else. This was the first game Todd Boehly was in attendance. I think Rom's playing for staying, because he's not going to get a bigger contract than what he's got right now. He wants to go to Inter, but Inter are not facing bankruptcy, but they're in a similar situation that Barcelona's in. Juve, Barca, AC Milan, all kind of in similar boats, and those are the rumored destinations. So I tweeted this out from the pod's Twitter, but we're stuck with Rom now forever. Todd Boehly came in and he saw 2 goals out of Rom, lifetime contract. That's what we're getting. But I will say, his partnership with Christian looked great, like you said, Matt. And this was with no help on the other side of him. This was playing down a man because Timo Werner was once again a nothing. Yeah, it was ugly. Well, maybe we'll get to Timo later, but yeah. So Rom was making runs, which he hadn't done for a while. His hold-up play was good. It reminded me very much of Josie Altidore in CONCACAF. Hold that ball, and then either distribute or turn and blast. And he had a couple decent shots on goal on that turn and blast. So I saw positives, and ultimately I think it came down to a mentality issue. I don't think it's necessarily a skill issue. And we saw it at the end of the game when Wolves scored, and they immediately show the camera of Rom on the bench into the game, engaged. That's the problem. He hasn't been engaged, and I think he's a guy who needs to be engaged in order to thrive.
Which means he's probably never going to have success because he's always going to have to play a role at Chelsea where you're not going to get to start every game for a couple of reasons, right? We play 66 games this year. Like, you can't start them all. And if that's kind of the Randy Moss award, right? I'm only happy when people throw it to me and I'm not a good team player. Like, that's not my guy, like, in that situation. But Collins, I'm happy you said about him playing for Boehly, because Tuchel actually had some comments about Rom, not only as a member of the squad this year, but into next year. He named him in the press conference and said, like, Rom's going to be a big member of this squad going forward, which I thought was a surprise to hear a little bit. Like, I thought it would be a little bit less committal of an answer from him. And, who knows if he's playing Jedi mind tricks and doing whatever kind of sorcery to drive up price or whatever. But that was a vote of confidence. And then he gets the start and then he has 2 goals. Like, you can't fault the guy. If I'm going to directly answer your question, I'm not basing, is this what we paid for off of one game against Wolves? We've seen it in spurts with a lot of our strikers, and we've been quick to judge, and so prove it over time for me. But the moment you alluded to it, Collins, the moment for me was he got the ball with his back to goal, made a great turn, and shot and had it saved. And if he would have hit that would have been like, all right, man, like, cheers to you, hats off, like, hat trick, earned the pen, converted the pen. It's not a cheap hat trick. Like, that would have been kind of it for me. I'm curious what you guys thought about the penalty itself. I could have seen that not going our way for 2 reasons. One, I thought it was a touch weak. And then the other was, I thought it was actually out of the box. So I'm kind of surprised we got that penalty, to be completely frank. And then the second goal, I mean, he slotted it great, but I actually thought it was a better pass than it was a goal. I thought the pass was, he played him into the perfect amount of space, and Christian weighted that ball perfectly. And Christian had a great game, but the weight of his passes it was a little spotty at times. That one was inch perfect. So, hats off to Christian on that one. So, but I'm curious what you guys thought about the pen.
Should have been a second yellow. If you're already on a yellow and you draw a pen against you after a VAR check, and this, like, you Parker, I see your point where it was a little soft. I do. I mean, Rom's a big guy, whatever. He was also trying to make a play over the guy's legs, and then he also kicked out. He kicked out Roman Saiz. He kicked out a leg at his shin to try and stop him. Like, anywhere else on the pitch, that's going to be a yellow. That's not just one of those, well, it's in the box and, where is it in the field of play? His body was in the box. Rom was trying to make a play on it, and he made a lash out at his shin. I think it should have been a second yellow. I don't completely understand how it wasn't, but that's definitely a game changer. And granted, you could argue, well, it's a game changing play. That's fine, but at the same time, when you're lashing out like that, that's definitely deserving of a yellow anywhere on the pitch.
Yeah, I just had to watch it back because in real time, I was like, okay, yeah, it's a penalty. I thought it was in the box, but I didn't think of the yellow card aspect. That's something that I didn't think of. So I'm actually watching it back right now, and Matt, you're 100% correct. We see it all the time. Anytime somebody throws those studs up, anytime you lift a leg, it's a card.
Pretty high too.
Yeah,
it was high. It was damn near his knee.
And so I don't know how much damage you can do in terms of injury and all that. Maybe that is weighted into it in terms of no yellow. But it certainly looks like it should have been. And yeah, that absolutely would have changed the game. Although, at that point we were 1-0 up, about to go 2-0 up. So who knows? We might have continued to shoot ourselves in the foot. But yeah, it's Premier League officiating at its finest. This is the best way I can sum that up.
The one that you looked it up, Collins, the Premier League ref that doesn't have a ton of experience. One of the least officiated refs that's been in the league this year, and so we had suspect other moments in the match too. So kind of was a perfect storm against us a little bit.
And we'll bitch more about him in a little bit here. But for the next thing I want to turn to, because I think it's the first time we've seen this midfield start this year, at least in this formation. Mateo Kovacic and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, both individually have been on fire the last couple of weeks. Kovacic a little bit longer than the last couple of weeks, but RLC certainly over the last 3 weeks has been out of this world. So you'd think pairing them together would be great. I said earlier in the season that they are basically the same player. They're both free to run at the defense and all that. And I think we saw a little bit of that because they opened up a lot of space for each other, right? But their defense was kind of lacking, which was surprising to me. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think in terms of, Jorginho we're not very high on. Conte, we know, can't play every single game. Is this a midfield that you continue to turn to after what we saw this weekend?
I think it's got potential. We haven't seen it. I thought it worked out relatively all right. I've been liking Loftus-Cheek and his ability to make people miss and go up and take people on, and Kova does a lot of that too. So maybe it's one of those, I'm curious to see how it works long term. Maybe they are the same player, Collins, and you do need more of one of them in, and then a more defensive sweeper type to kind of clean up. But if you think about Jorginho and Kovacic together, or Loftus-Cheek and Kovacic together, I'm probably picking Loftus-Cheek. And Conte is kind of a different animal in that argument. But overall, I really thought our midfield play was positive. I don't think they defended perfectly, but I'll take it. I enjoyed what I saw, and I thought they created a lot going forward, and we were relatively positive going forward yesterday.
I think with them, the biggest issue is they don't know who's going to take that pivot role between the two. You look at both of them, they are more than capable of getting up the pitch. Right. We know that they can do it by passing, and they can do it themselves if they have to. It's just a matter of, I think, them working things out of who's going to be that pivot person between the center backs and the defense versus who's going to, kind of lead things forward. So I think it's just something that comes with a little bit of time. Collins, you're spot on. They are very much the same player, right? Both can be that pivot person. Both can be that attacking person. I think in this scenario, the lack of chemistry hurt us because it seemed to me like Wolverhampton was always going to be playing on the counter. I think that was going to be their game plan going in. They might put up a high press every now and again, but you didn't see much of it. And whatever high press they had, we broke pretty easily. But I have to agree, Parks. I like the combination. I think it's really good. There are a lot of good things to take from it. Unfortunately, you have Kova running into Rudy trying to track back, and that opens up the goal for Trincao, which I personally think Mendy could have done a little bit more with. At least throw a body in any direction, right? Do what you can. But at the same time, that affects Rudy, and then he can't close like he wants to. But one of the things that, not to kind of defer off of what we're trying to get at, but one of the things that surprised me was the link-up play between Kova and Timo. Kova found Timo in a lot of good open spaces. And I think that is definitely a credit to both of them for their understanding. Like Kova's looking for Timo. He's looking at those gaps and everything like that. The problem is with Timo, right? He's not going to put in a great ball going across the middle or anything like that. But at the same time, he's going to open things up where if needed, Alonso could come in, could like come inside or whatever. And then, you have Alonso or you have Kova back. I like the partnership that they have. I think that it works out well. The only problem is what kind of ball or what decision that Timo's going to make once he has that. It's scary because like you see it work. It's like, yeah, he's getting into open spaces, he's playing him into a perfect ball, he's timing everything perfectly. And unfortunately it falls to Timo, but we don't really have anybody else that's going to make the kind of runs that Timo is going to make right now that consistently where he's linked up that well. So it's hard to, that's why for me, Collins, when you said Timo played awful, it's hard for me to say that because he made those runs. He opened up a lot of things. It's just his delivery in the final third that is less than suspect at this point. It is almost non-existent. And, but who else is going to be capable of making those runs into those spaces? At least who has the chemistry to make those runs, because Timo's been playing that left wing for so long. Kova's been playing that left mid for so long. Who else is going to have that link up right now? Unfortunately, it's nobody. So that makes it real tough to try and slot somebody else in. But Collins, let's go back to your original question about the midfield.
So what do you think? Do you like this midfield? You
Yes.
said yeah? Okay.
Yes.
I do and I don't. I like it going forward. I don't like it going backwards. But the more I think about it, the more I think the issue is Ruben Loftus-Cheek. For as much as we've praised him the last couple of days or couple of weeks, he had a similar issue when he was paired with Jorginho back there, where he was just doing what Jorginho was doing, right? We had two pivot guys and we had no one going forward. Now he's paired with Kova, and instead of there being a pivot, they're both just going forward. And I'm curious to see if you put him next to N'Golo Kante, if they're both just like pressing right behind the striker. I almost wonder, and this is not an educated assumption at all. This is just me thinking here, but I almost wonder if he has played so many positions that he doesn't know how to truly play one position, and so he just mimics whoever else is doing it. And it may be inexperienced because he's, well, I hate to say he's inexperienced. He's 26, but it's not like he's played the same position for 5 straight years, right?
That's right, games.
Yeah, right, exactly.
For fuck's sake,
he is Chelsea inexperienced.
So maybe he's a great talent. Maybe he is a very promising talent. He has the skills to be something special. But maybe his footballing IQ is not the greatest.
I don't think it's that. Collins, I think that you hit it right. Like, he's played so many positions and he's trying to do, I think he's almost in a position kind of like Mason Mount, right? We talked about maybe he's trying to do too much. Maybe he's trying to be that all-around midfield that can attack, that can defend and do everything like that. Maybe at that point the decision making is not there, but maybe that's because he hasn't played with the first team at Chelsea for as long, right? And again, he doesn't, on a day-to-day basis, he probably doesn't know what position he's going to play in or what position he's going to slot in or what his role is going to be. Even if he is playing that midfield, he doesn't know whether he's going to be the attacking midfield. He doesn't know whether he's going to be the pivot man. When you have two people that can do both and they don't have a lot of chemistry together, it's tough to figure out what's going to happen. And, with RLC, he's rarely paired with the same person, even in the midfield, right? So if we're just looking at him as a central mid, who's he paired with? Conte? Well, Conte is going to do Conte things. He's going to be all over the pitch, but I mean, you don't know where he's going to be. Jorginho, you know he's going to sit back, so that allows RLC to go forward. With Kova, he normally does both. So it's tough to figure out where you're going to slot into. And I think that's exactly what we saw in this match. Like, all right, am I going to go up? Is Kova going to stay back, or is Kova going to go up and I'm going to stay back? Are we both going to go forward and then we're kind of screwed? Like, I think it was kind of a learning experience for both of them to try and just understand each other and figure each other out. For the most part, I thought they did a damn good job. I really do. Unfortunately, the goals or whatever, but at the same time, you see RLC. I think it was on one of the attempts in the first half or in the second half. RLC was hauling ass to get back. Like, he wasn't even in the play, but he was hauling ass to get back, and it was a 2v2. But he was busting his shit to get back there. That's what I like. Like, he has no problem doing that. So I think that there is a little bit of inexperience on RLC, especially not playing at that type of level. Like, yeah, he's played Premier League for Fulham when they were up, but that's a completely different ball game compared to playing with Chelsea.
Yeah, and that's where I'm so confused. Is I love it in that him and Kova were basically doing the weave, like you used to do in grade school basketball, going up the field, and that was great to see. I loved that. But the problem is, then we have no one back. So like you said, RLC's busting his ass to get all the way back when Wolves is on the counter, because normally we would have, Matt, you're going to hate this, but we would have a Jorginho back there. We would at least have a body back there, right? Whereas now we don't, because you also had two wing backs bombing up the field, so you're stuck with just your back three. So if they can continue to work on that and continue to drill into RLC, like, hey, Kova has the priority, you are the one who's going to be dropping back, then I'm good with it. But this is a constant Tuchel problem. We need consistency in that lineup so that they can continue to build that.
Right. And it's just one of those things where, let's say you do have a Jorginho back there. Let's say you're running like a 4-3-3, like we saw in the second half. If you do put in a Jorginho, then yeah, let Kova and RLC go nuts. Like, let them do what they do. You saw that run from Kova off that interception where he just went and had that shot that he just barely missed. Like, and even the commentators were like, Kova has some pace. Like, he can go if he needs to. And I think that's like the biggest thing. So can RLC. We've seen runs out of him over the last probably 2 months where he has bodied probably 4 people on his way, without question. And it hasn't even been anything to debate. Like, he can just go and take people on, no problem, shrug them off, good to go. I think that as you move to next year, you have that 4-3-3 mentality, and I think that suits us a little bit better.
All right. Well,
Parks, what about you? You haven't chimed in. Sorry, it's been Collins and I.
Oh, you guys summed it up well. Don't have too much to add. I thought they played both pretty well, and what I've been impressed with is Loftus-Cheek's like footwork, because that run, I'm pretty sure Loftus-Cheek kind of made someone miss. He got the ball at his feet, and he had to do some quick footwork to free Kova on that. So you love to see it. And then it opens us up. That's Collins, your point, right? Like, the fact that both of them were in and around the box, that probably means that Alonso and Reece James have to bomb back. You can't have everyone on. You can't put it on ultra attacking and not expect to give up some goals, right? Like, and the drunk FIFA days when you just go all out attack, and then it's like, oh shit, no one's back, and everyone's kind of scrambling, and it's chaotic, and that's kind of what we felt like on the break, and we defended it all right in the first half, and then gave up some goals in the second. So it was sort of our own doing. I think it can work out though. I think it's Loftus-Cheek had a decent start, a very not stellar middle of the season, and I'm really happy that he's kind of come on in the last 6 matches or so, and he's proven back and won people back that he can be a part of this midfield, which is ever in flux, especially with like a Conor Gallagher potentially set to come back. We've got a lot of bodies fighting for not a lot of spots, and the debate kind of rages on of what does that midfield look like on a go forward basis.
And it is funny because for those of you who don't follow us on Twitter, please do at FlagDownPod. After every match, we run a man of the match and a man of the get the fuck out of here. So a best and the worst of every match. We take the results of that, we add them all up, and your 2 highest rated midfielders this season are Ruben Loftus-Cheek number 1, Mateo Kovacic number 2. So it's on paper, it's absolutely what you want to see. All right, well let's get to the fun part now. Let's rip on the officiating a little bit. Matt, I know you are heated, so let's
thrilled.
Let's start with you there. We keep in mind we already talked about the penalty, so no need to.
Yeah. I thought that the officiating was relatively poor. Granted, you have somebody who is tied for the least amount of Premier League matches. I thought he got some things right, but I thought that he got a lot of things wrong. The biggest thing that comes to mind is, and I don't know, I have a hard time with this because it might not necessarily be with the official, but maybe how it's trained. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but like when João Moutinho, or I think it was Raul Jimenez, got stopped by Rudy just put himself in front of the ball, wouldn't let him put it down, which again we see all the time. It's nothing new. A little bit of a push here and there, fine. And then João Moutinho puts the ball down and kicks it directly at Rudiger. Like, that's got to be something, right? We've seen yellow cards happen for worse. I'm not arguing like the fact of a card, but there's got to be something, right? Like, if a player is standing there waiting for the official to declare something, because the official was right there. He wasn't like 50 yards away. He was right there. And Moutinho just go ahead and blast the ball right at Rudiger. You're clearly attempting to injure somebody by kicking it full strength. And we know the legs of these individuals that played the sport. They got some pep to it. You're talking about just blasting a ball right into somebody.
If Rudy does that, is that a card?
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
I don't think it is. That's the one thing I disagree with you on, Matt, is that specific play. Because the team that was fouled, the team that received the foul, has the right to play that ball quickly. The defense has to clear out once that call is made, which the referee did make. He blew his whistle. So Rudy has to clear out. By not clearing out, you're kind of opening yourself up for that, which draws a yellow card on the player impeding progress. It's a delay of game.
Should, but we see that in every single Premier League match that's ever happened in probably the last 10 years. Right? We always see the defender trying to stop the play from restarting quick, right? That's nothing new. It's almost common practice at this point.
Yeah. So how do you stop that without further delaying the game by throwing your hands up and looking at the ref like, hey, look what he's doing?
So you're just going to blast
you draw
somebody.
the other player into a yellow card.
So you're going to blast somebody directly in front of you with the ball, because let's be honest, if Rudy's not there and he hits the ball with the same kind of aggression that he did, that's a goal kick. No doubt.
I'm not saying morally or ethically or whatever that it's right. I'm just saying Moutinho was well within the rules of the game to do that.
Well, we know,
that's the only one I disagree with you on in terms of referees. So
like everything else was subpar. There were so many fouls where I'm like, how is that a foul? Let's go to the Timo disallowed goal. Let's look at that one. If you look at the angle that Saiss took trying to get back, right? So if you're going forward, so Timo is trying to come on, he's trying to go on his left shoulder, right? Roman Saiss, as a defender, has to drop down and try and go forward, right? That's a natural position, right? You have to drop down to go forward to get a little bit more speed. But the fact that he went down that quick, he was already falling down. He couldn't get his feet sorted. How was that on Timo? And the official blew the whistle. How does that not get checked as a clear and obvious error? Oh, wait, because it was called a foul on the field. So then it goes to VAR and be like, oh, no, it wasn't clear and obvious. You made the decision. There was some contact, but not enough. No way. No way in hell. And that's where the whole issue of advantage of offense versus defense when it comes to calls and VAR, that whole thing gets skewed so badly. Like, he was already making that move. Sorry, I'm kind of enacting it right now. He was already making that move that way. Like, yeah, he's going to be off balance when he makes that move. If anybody touches you as soon as you're making that move to try and break one way, you're going to go down, especially if you feel any sort of contact. Timo was getting there regardless of if he got touched or not. He was so off balance, it was ridiculous. I don't understand how you call that a foul immediately and don't just let play go on and then check it for VAR after the fact. That to me seems ridiculous. I thought that was an absolutely poor call, and that showed a lot of inexperience with the head official of that match, and that's just one of many.
Yeah, man. The way I look at those calls is if it happened either the other way, like if it was a defender that came in, or if it happened against me, how would I feel? And I try to take as fair of an approach to those calls as I can. And man, I've seen defenders come in the same kind of a way 100 times and be able to kind of use your arms to body out, or at least kind of establish where your presence is to box out. And when a player's kind of going down and looking for that penalty, I can hear the officiating say, yeah, not enough in there for me. He was already going down. He was just trying to bait for the penalty. Like if the roles were reversed, man, that's exactly how they would talk about it. And so it's the guy who's attacking, it's the offender that caused that foul. I'm like, come on, man. And of course it happens to Timo Werner. I'm not sure if he's the best, most unlucky player on the planet or what his deal is sometimes, but the guy can't create his own luck sometimes. It's just, of course it was him. Of course, he's like, people body me all the time, man. What the hell? And then the second I lay a finger on someone and then score a goal, of course, it gets called back. So Matt, to your point, like I wish they would have called nothing, because it costs nothing to call nothing there and then check it later and at least have a look at it. The one thing that was a little bit weird from that one was one view looked completely clean and then the other made it look fairly dirty. It made it look a little bit more aggressive than it was. And so the two views that they showed over and over were splitting and not consensus, but tough one, man. That was a brutal call.
So the one other one, sorry, Collins, the one other one that I want to touch on is the Azpilicueta yellow card against Neto, where apparently he caught him in the face. Neto's all of what? 5'6"? Mm-hmm. Dave's what, 5'10"? Well, yeah, you're going to have that. Dave was just trying to put an arm out to try and, like as any defender would, to try and put an arm out. He unfortunately caught him in the face. There was nothing malicious about it. It wasn't violent. He just put his arm out. And, well, you have a height difference. We all know this. We're over 6 foot. Like, there's going to be a height difference. So as you're running, and Neto, who plays the ball around, he's going to try and get low to go around. And you just stick an arm out like, hey, I'm going to try and block you a little bit, not try and completely just drop you on your ass, but I'm just going to throw an arm out, try and alleviate some shit, catches him in the face, and then he's down for 3 minutes. Shut the fuck up. Like, get the fuck up. It wasn't like an elbow that caught like a straight elbow. No, it was just an arm. You ran into it. Like, stop. And the fact that that was a yellow, no way in hell that was a yellow. If anything, that's a common foul. Like, there were just a lot of decisions that like, I have to laugh at this point, because there are some where it's like, oh, where was that foul? Then there's others where like, oh yeah, I would expect Chelsea to get a yellow on a common foul. That's kind of what it's come to at this point.
So here's the crucial one for me, and it's the 6 minutes. Because in that second half, outside of, you had a VAR check for the penalty, which took, I believe, a minute and a half, something like that. I was
going to say 2 tops.
Yeah. You had a couple subs, and then the big one was a Wolves player went down injured, and we spent, I remember looking at my watch, and it came out to about 5 or 6 minutes waiting for Wolves to call their manager on an iPhone to see if he wanted to make a sub. There's a reason why you have assistant coaches. There's when Tuchel was out, his assistants were running the show. It didn't need to contact Tuchel, anything like that. They knew what they were supposed to do. It should have been treated as if their manager was there, because if your manager cannot be there, your head assistant effectively is your manager in the stadium. There shouldn't be any cell phone calls. There shouldn't be any Bluetooth AirPods, any of that stuff that was going on. We shouldn't wait 5 minutes to see if a player needs to be subbed, and then he's not subbed. The referee should have had the medical team escort him off of the pitch like they do in any other match. And then when he is cleared to play by the medical team and okayed by the fourth official, he can come back on, or he can be subbed off at the next break. There should not have been a dead ball period of about 5 minutes.
There is no fucking reason at all. Roman Saiz, that fucking guy, he's on my shit list for the rest of time. He even shook his head like, no, the camera saw him. Like, it was on the camera. He's like, nope, can't go anymore. They had the sub ready. And then Collins, yes, they were, one earbud in, and what do you really want to do? And what about this? Well, we got to bring on somebody else. Well,
what's to talk to you?
Yeah, he's not ready yet. So what do we do? We just kind of keep him on. Okay, yeah, let's just kind of give it hell and see what he can do for a couple minutes, and then we'll make a sub or a double sub, and we'll kind of go off that. what the fuck? If you're going to make the sub, make the sub. Don't, because I'm pretty sure whatever, Hoiming Chan or whoever, like he was there ready to go.
He was
I'm
on the
pretty
touch
sure
line, ready to go.
They had it on the board. And then to follow it up, as he's about to get subbed on, you see the fourth official go, like, where's the card? Like, whenever you go and get subbed, you give a card who you're replacing. Like, where's the card? And then all the assistant coaches scramble to try and find the card. Like, oh, who are you actually going in for? It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
As a volleyball coach, it's my biggest pet peeve because I like to think that I'm pretty up to date on the rules. I ran a youth club here. I had to be very in the know on the rules. But you go to a tournament and you see a ref treating an inexperienced coach in a different way that they treat you. It pissed me off to all hell. I would consistently complain about it. Sometimes it would help, other times it would not. But again, it's not Chelsea's fault that Wolves manager had COVID and could not be there. If you cannot be there, you need to appoint someone who is knowledgeable and can act on their own, knowledge to do the right thing throughout the match. Otherwise, what is the point of having that fucking assistant?
Mm-hmm.
It's incompetence, and it shouldn't have been tolerated. And ultimately, I hate to make referee excuses. I like to complain about refs, but I don't like to think that referees affect matches. But this one did. Plus 6 minutes. They score at 96-48. So, you cut that substitution, that non-substitution down even in half to, and then that makes stoppage time 4 minutes. Game over. We come away with 3 points and we're having a different conversation today.
Even at plus 6.
Yeah, even if you stop it at plus 6.
All the game.
Like,
stop the count.
They had the ball in their own half at, I believe it was 96-25. They had the ball at their own half, which also a side note, that corner that we took at 95-30-35, whatever, Kai held up the ball. He clearly played it off the Wolverhampton player for a throw-in. Went right to Wolves. How does nobody see that?
So
it is ridiculous to me that something as I would deem that clear and obvious ends up going to Wolves, and that's how they end up winning the game, is off of that call and then whatever succeeded after that. But if you make that call, and if Chelsea has it with a throw-in, there's probably another 15, 20 seconds. We get the ball, pass it around, back for a little bit. That's game.
So let me wrap up this topic with this question. Again, we had to look up this ref because we had never heard of him. He has reffed only 12 matches all season, tied for third lowest out of any referee in the Premier League this year. Would you guys rather have had a Mike Dean, an Anthony Taylor, a Kevin Friend, than, what's his name, Banksy, that just reffed our match?
I would have, just because I prefer an experienced ref, and I think that there's obviously a narrative against us with those names that you just listed off, but to me personally, my personal opinion is it gets overblown a little bit, where you have confirmation bias. No one talks about when those guys give us calls. They only bring up the sort of glaring errors that they've made, which they've made. But I do believe that Anthony Taylor goes out there and tries to ref a fair match. I don't believe he's got an agenda against Chelsea. Just personally, I have to believe that, because I believe in fair competition. And I might be completely naive in saying that, but I believe that an experienced ref, has the ability to ref a fair match. So I prefer the experienced refs that at least have a handle on the game. Whether or not they ref a perfect game or not, whatever. But have control of the match a little bit, and I thought this Banks guy did not.
No, he was somebody trying to assert dominance, and everybody just kind of laughed at him along the way. I really don't think he had any control over the match whatsoever. But to answer the question, anybody but Mike Dean, because Mike Dean was going to make it all about him.
Well, let's narrow it down to that right there. Mike Dean or Banksy?
That's at anyone but Dean, so then you got to go with Banks.
Yeah, it's so tough because we've seen, not even with Chelsea, we've seen Mike Dean just in, or at least I have, in any other Premier League match, and calls are suspect all the way around the board. I would take an Anthony Taylor or Kevin Friend. The only thing that I will give Mike Dean credit for is, Collins, to your point, that 5-6 minutes for the sub
would not have
Mike Dean would have squashed that shit in a heartbeat.
He would have carted the bench.
Yeah, he would have been like,
would have though, man. Anyone would have ushered that.
He would have been like, no, this is my show. You're not gonna disrupt what I've done. Not a chance. Like, no, figure out your shit. Let's go. Cards already been, like, the card for subs have already been submitted. Go. Like, Hoi-Min Chun is now your left back. Like, go.
And Mike Dean, if you're listening, we would love to have you come on for a one-on-one Pod After Dark interview with Matt.
It would be fun. I'm sure I would learn a lot, and I can't wait.
Shoot us a DM at FlagDownPod.
Any Premier League ref, for that matter.
Yes.
Especially Banksy. All right. So,
or give me Clattenburg.
No, let's not go there right now.
Give me Mark Platts.
All right. So, last topic of the night. This should be a fun one, but the cameras seem to be on Boehly watch. The Todd father was in attendance, sitting in Roman's box, which I think all but confirms. There's reports that it's just down to government agreement and blah 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 blah. He's sitting in Roman's box. That shows me it's done. It's over with. So welcome to Boehly season, boys. What did we think of the first match with the Todd father in attendance?
Good to see our owner at the stadium. I mean, we didn't get to see Roman on a day-to-day basis. It's been quite some time since we've seen him in attendance, and I was happy to see him. I like his demeanor. I thought it was hilarious, the reaction to the VAR check, the Ruben Loftus-Cheek VAR offside call, because what? No goal? You could read his lips, right? What the hell is going on? No goal? Come on. Because that's what we were all thinking. It kind of makes me feel like he's one of us a little bit. I like when billionaires or rich people in general seem like normal dudes. They're not in Prada jumpsuits wearing what like a soldier boy would wear, or somewhat like a rapper would wear. He's a normal dude in jeans that look like they're from Banana Republic, and a tee that could be purchased at Kohl's for all that matters. Like, it doesn't matter. It just, I said before when we were talking about him that he's got drip, and it's because he's a billionaire that wore fairly, innocuous clothes. I kind of love that. And so it was cool to see him. It was cool to see his demeanor. He seemed pretty chill. Part of me laughed because it's like, cool, we drew against Wolves, and what the fuck did I buy a little bit? But yeah, of course, Collins. Of course, the camera's going to be all over him. I mean, anytime anyone's in the media with Chelsea, they're the ones on the camera. We see it with Rom all the time. Rom's always on camera, whether he's playing or not. They always get his reaction. They always pan to him. There's always conversation about it. And with the amount of conversation that's been around this ownership takeover and all of the shit that's gone back and forth, I was happy to see him there. I was happy to see him televised. All of that stuff. It was good. It makes me feel like this is over. And now the next time he's in attendance, he'll be on TV slightly less, and then slightly less, and then slightly less, and then, and eventually he kind of falls back, right? And then he just manages from afar. And that's what all of us, I believe, wanted to see.
I loved it. I was all about Boehly. You guys can go back and check the tape. I've been Team Boehly since day one. It's we've seen a lot over the last couple of weeks of the shots of old crotchety Bruce Buck sitting there, looking like he's on his deathbed. You see Marina stone faced constantly, and that's been what our ownership has been giving off, right? Because they couldn't really do much else. Anytime Roman was there, you'd see a little bit of emotion out of Roman. Unfortunately, like you said, Parker, we haven't been able to see him a whole lot. But outside of the European finals, there wasn't a ton of emotion the last couple of years out of Roman in the box. But what I saw watching Boehly, and this is honestly worth nothing in the grand scheme of things. This is just my personal preference. This made me feel good. It felt like he was watching the game with us as a fan. He was getting into it. He was doing the whistle. He was doing the clap. He was doing the what the hell, no goal. It was the full range of emotions, and with a billionaire owner, what I picture is more Bruce Buck, just kind of sitting there, stone faced. Shit, what the hell did I invest in, kind of thing. But Boehly seems genuinely interested, and seemed to have watched the full 96 minutes and been engaged, just like Big Rom. He was engaged in the match, and it made me feel good as a fan to know that we are now in the hands of somebody who lives and dies with the wins and losses like we do. It makes me feel good. So that I was happy. Team Boehly.
Parker, thank you for the Soulja Boy reference. I just want to throw that out there.
Can you just picture Boehly in some like crazy sunglasses and just not matching tracksuit, man?
I mean, he owns LA at this point, so let him do his thing. Like, Boehly just looks like a fucking OG. Like, he just does. He's got the shades on. Like, I can attest to this. He's got a very, very nice flow to him. Like,
Costner-esque.
Yeah. It's amazing. He looks like he should be an owner. Roman, he didn't look like he should own anything. And that's coming from me, always grizzled, and you know where he just came from. So like, you have Boehly. I love seeing him up there. And as both of you said, he's one of the boys. Like, he just is. He is an American soccer fan who I think bit off a little bit more than he can chew as far as like how much attention is going to be put on him. And like you guys said, oh, it's good to see somebody there. But you have to remember, he's also split between the LA Rams football team and the LA Dodgers.
No, thank God it's not the Rams, because that's the Kroenke family.
Oh, sorry. He's part of one of the football teams.
Isn't he Lakers?
Lakers and Dodgers.
Sorry, Lakers and Dodgers. My apologies. But he's gonna have to be in attendance for those games, because those are like the epitome of U.S. sports right now at this time, right? Those are like your two biggest franchises in the U.S. He's gonna have to be a part of that. I don't think that we'll be seeing him that often. I think we'll be seeing him, I wouldn't say Roman the last couple of years, but maybe a little bit more. but the expectation shouldn't be that he's going to be there for every game. I would say maybe once every 2 weeks, I think would be plausible. Maybe not.
I think
realistic.
maybe for big games.
Yeah,
big games,
I was gonna say like once a
finals.
month for the big ones.
Yeah, like I said, it might be plausible, but not realistic. But yeah, I mean, like he seems like us when we started getting into English soccer and European soccer. Like, oh well, I'll throw it on when I can view it, and I'll try and understand what I can and kind of go off of that. He seems like that kind of person, and I love that, right? Like, he made this decision with his group. He's the face of it. He's interested in learning about it. I don't know who was sitting on his left, but whoever it was kept like informing him of what the hell was going on.
Yeah,
so
like his buddy and informant almost.
Right. Somebody like to be like, hey, don't make me look stupid. What the fuck just happened? Like that guy. So, but it's good to see that like he wants to learn about the sport, because I guarantee you he is not a soccer aficionado by any stretch of the imagination. He wants to understand. He wants to learn. He wants to grow. Like, he wants to know what it feels like to be a fully invested fan. And I think that is the biggest selling point that he has. He wants to be one of the people.
I'm pissed. I tried to look it up who was sitting next to him. The Athletic has it, but I don't want to pay $1 a month to read that article. So,
Fair.
Well, hopefully, I mean, God, I know we're all at this point kind of limping into the off season, but hopefully, big things this off season from Boehly and company. I'm excited. Yes.
Quickly, before we wrap up, Mr. Hawks, who is a new follower on Twitch, thank you for that follow, big guy. He did point out in our chat that he said he was at Kings Meadow today to watch Chelsea women lift the cup. So that's awesome to see too. He made the rounds to watch the women win the league. So that's an awesome sight too. So thank you for reminding me about that.
Yeah, it was a pretty positive day. You had the women winning. Sorry. Winning the league, and you had the U23s avoiding relegation, beating Spurs,
with everybody and their mother in attendance,
and Trev and Malang Sarr actually playing. So there's that.
They are under 23.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
But again, congrats to the women. In our group chat, we were talking the other day about what jersey we would buy next, and I don't know. I know you guys were Kova and all that. After I watched the women's match today,
I'll buy it before you do.
I'm gonna buy a Sam Kerr jersey. I think.
Damn it!
I might get a Lauren James jersey, but
oh,
are they both? What number is Lauren James? Is she also 23?
I don't think so.
That'd be convenient.
It would be funny just to have one James jersey for the two.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, we have passed the hour mark. We haven't done that in a while. But Matt, we'll start with you. Any closing thoughts?
No, I'll save them for Pod After Dark. Please make sure to listen to that. It's gonna be a doozy. For anybody that likes the rambling that I do and the shit talking, it's gonna be a good one.
All right, Parker, how about you?
Oh, all good, man. Appreciate another week of podcasting. Even when things don't go well on the pitch, it's fun to gather with you boys and hash it out and at least try to focus on some of the positives, bring up some of the negatives. And Matt, like you started this conversation out, just be here for the bourbon.
All right. Well, before we close out, let me pay some bills here. So, if you've enjoyed what you've listened to or watched today, feel free to give us a follow on Twitch. again, thank you to those who have this evening. We'll be broadcasting every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's in the U.S. If you're busy on Sundays, or if you like to listen to the podcast version, you can catch us anywhere you get your podcasts. All we ask that is if you do listen to us on Spotify or Apple, you subscribe, rate, review, unsubscribe, resubscribe, re-rate, re-review. It takes no more than 30 seconds, but it does us a ton of good, so we certainly appreciate that. You can always follow us on social media. The podcast can be followed on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook by searching @FlagDownPod. You can follow me, Andy, at Comiskey North. You can follow Parker at DJ Parkour, and you can follow Matt at Matus Lee. And finally, if you have any questions or comments you want us to address on air, we're always happy to read what you got for us. So just shoot us a DM on social media, or like I said earlier, come join us on Twitch and hop in the chat. Always good to interact with people there. So that's all I've got for today, boys. So let's toast to, Boehly season and women winning the league.
Hey, cheers.
All right,
Cheers.
I'm all potted out.